All right. Hi, I'm with Tyler Thompson, the Director of Technology for Flagship. Hi, Tyler.
Hello.
Okay, I just have a few questions to ask you, so I won't take much of your time. I understand you're the man in charge of the skills and talent trees for Hellgate London. Can you tell us more about the latest skill you've implemented for the game?
Yeah, the skills and talent trees is a lot of fun to work on. One of the newest ones we've put in is a spectral curse that the evoker does that curses a bunch of monsters, and then when they die, they all do an explosion, a spectral explosion that helps kind of phase the nearby monsters. And when monsters are phased, it makes them weaker. They both do less damage and take more damage.
Okay. So phasing is probably like a debuff?
Yeah, phasing is a kind of a debuff. Each of our damage types has kind of a debuff that it can trigger if your attack overcomes their defense against that attack. Okay. So you can ignite guys by doing fire damage, you can stun things by doing too much physical damage, and things like that. And so spectral damage, when you do spectral damage with a good phasing attack, then you can phase them, and this makes them debuffed for a while.
Game balancing has always been an important milestone for any game. How do you ensure that the game is balanced?
Well, I mean, we do care about balance when we work on it, but really when we design the skills and when we think about how to, what we're going to have the character classes do and what the weapons will do and all that, we're really more focused on what's fun and what's an interesting thing and what seems like it's worth putting a skill point into, and then later we try to balance them. But we don't like start out thinking, how do we make sure it's balanced when we first make it? And so we go through all the skills and we try to look at them and try to see if there's a reasonable way to balance it versus the other skills. But in the end, we're probably going to miss some things, and there's likely to be another thing like Whirlwind or something that we'll miss and have to change. But this time around, we're watching the game after it goes out, and we'll be ready to make those changes after it comes out to help balance things out so things aren't too far out of control.
Okay. All right. What about the death system for the game? I mean, how does it work? Do players lose an item? Do they lose money? Do they lose experience when they die? How does it work?
Well, we've changed the death system several times already in the game, and it's still kind of in a state of flux. But right now it's really, really weak in the sense that the penalty is not very harsh. Okay. Currently, if you die, you have three options. You can resurrect in the nearest town with really no penalties at all. You can resurrect at the beginning of the level you're in, or you can pay some money, or some palladium, some in-game money, to resurrect right there. And then if you resurrect at the beginning of the level you're in, you'll be a ghost, and you have to run back to your corpse, get near your corpse, and then you're vulnerable for a little bit while you're under corpse until you like fire a weapon or something, then you're back to being able to fight. So you clear that vulnerability by doing something aggressive. We do have, beyond a certain level, I think it's like level 10 or something, we start to put in a little bit of a death penalty where you earn experience a little slower for the next few minutes, just so that you don't just keep taking advantage of dying easily too much. But in general, it's a really kind of a relatively easy death penalty right now, especially in the kind of normal difficulty starting of the game.
Okay. All right. Can you, sorry. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's okay. You've played many of the classes as well, etc. What's your favorite class, and why? Why is it your favorite class?
I really like playing the Guardian. I'm one of those characters that I like to just run into the middle of the fight and get surrounded and just fight everything around me and just get in there close. And when I play like an evoker and I try to do that, I die. And when I try to play a marksman and I run in the middle of everything, I die. And so I need to be a Guardian usually to stay alive in our game, and I tend to enjoy playing that way. The kind of the patience or the tactics that are required for the other classes don't usually fit my style as much. But the Guardian's really fun to me.
All right. So what's, in your opinion, what's the difference between the Blade Master and the Guardian? What's the biggest difference? I understand that the Guardian is more like a tank type of character, and whereas the Blade Master is more damage. But in terms of play style, I mean, what's the biggest difference?
Well, there's several differences. Some of the more immediate ones you'll notice is the Guardian can do a shield bash, which really plays with the tactics of the game of being able to stop guys from hurting him and allow him to survive kind of tougher fights that the Blade Master can't. The other thing that's kind of the big difference is the Blade Master feels more like, how do I get all these things killed quickly? How do I get my sword to hit as many guys as fast as I can and try not to get myself too surrounded or too much in danger? Whereas the Guardian goes in and is more like, how can I stun a couple guys and just kind of wade through everything and gather as many monsters together as you can just to kill them all off in groups and to stun them as you're standing there. And you don't worry as much about dying as a Guardian, but you do as a Blade Master. In the Blade Master, you also worry more about how do I kill fast, whereas the Guardian is more of how do I just find everything and kill it and wade through the fight.
Last question. So do you think that, well, playing Hellgate, if you're going to down a boss, for example, you need a good mix of all the various characters? Or do you think you can go in with like a party of like one particular character, well, one particular class? Or do you need a good mix of classes in order to defeat a boss effectively?
I mean, we'll have to see a little bit more when we watch more people playing, but if it's anything like how we've played before and how our previous games have played, it really doesn't matter. Most groups can play together pretty well. If you're like all marksmen, you're going to do a lot of damage pretty quickly. You're going to be a little vulnerable to, like, if a boss runs up to a guy and starts hitting him, there's not much you could do other than just try to kill him faster. But in general, I think that although certain classes complement each other, you're not going to feel like you have to have every specific class or pieces to fill it out to make the perfect party. I think you're more likely just to find this is a particularly good party, this is another one that works pretty well, but in general we can just play whatever we want to play.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.